Hello viewers, welcome to your program Development Zone, where we celebrate achievers, unveil the core potential of our nation. Today on the program, we'll be talking agriculture, and our guest on the program today is Professor Mutilliah Olasupo. He is the Dean, Faculty of Social Science, University of Abuja. He will be unveiling to us the way forward in our agricultural sector, the reforms on how to make sure agriculture increase the nation's GDP. Sit back, relax. I'll be right back.
It is very simple in the sense that we've been there before. Before the independence, agriculture contributed to the GDP of Nigeria. In fact, it was the mainstream, the main segment that contributed to the GDP of Nigeria. If you could recall, it was agriculture that provided the whole or defunct eastern and western region, even the northern region, the huge amount of money they used to develop those regions in those days. If you look at the defunct western region, through agriculture, they were able to build the fantastic complex, the highest complex in the whole of Africa then. We call it Cocoa House. It was this agricultural revenue that the Western region government then used to provide free education for all. You know, it was fantastic. The agricultural revenue was also used to build the first stadium in the whole of Africa. That's Liberty Stadium. And so many other things. The first television station in Africa was built from this. You could recall the huge amount of money that was also got it from oil production from eastern region. Not to talk of the pyramid of granite pyramid in the north. That tells you that gone are the days when agriculture was seen as the only mainstream source of income to Nigeria, and we are doing fantastically well with that. We are able to feed ourselves, and we are able to also contribute to the international market. But the moment the oil exploration started, everything changes. And that's why we find ourselves where we are today. Nigeria is now heavily depends on the oil exploration alone. And even in that oil exploration, we are not doing well. So agriculture can be resurrected. I'm talking about agricultural production. It can actually be resurrected if we want to do that, if the government is so willing and has the political will to do it. It will go a long way to increase the gross domestic product of Nigeria, and to also increase Nigerian opportunity to strengthen our economy in the Committee of Nations. Agriculture is broadly classified into 4 sectors. We have crop production, we have fishing, we have livestock, and we have forestry. And today, crop production remains the largest segment, and it accounts for about 86% of the sector's total output. That tells you that if we do the needful in terms of crop production, in terms of fishing, in terms of livestock, and in terms of forestry, I can assure you that Nigeria will earn a lot of money in foreign exchange to ensure that our GDP is increased geometrically if we do the needful in strengthening the agricultural production in Nigeria. Like the successive government in Nigeria are not keenly interested in reviving the glory of agriculture in Nigeria. And that's why we are suffering like this. That's why our economy is very porous. Nigeria is actually suffering from economic doldrum and austerity today. Many Nigerians cannot even feed themselves. It's because we find it difficult to resume to the farm. The agriculture is not something that we consider to be the best way in which our economy could pick up. So it's a big problem. I wish the federal government would show high level of commitment in agriculture. And to worsen the situation, The high level of insecurity is something that we also need to tackle. Our farms are not even accessible for many farmers who are keenly interested in farming. Even though our farming is still a pleasant one, it's still a subsistent one that we do. There is no serious mechanized farming in Nigeria, you know. It's very laughable that as big as Nigeria is, we don't have mechanized farming. And we are talking of agriculture, we are talking of how are we going to use agriculture to improve our GDP. It's because we need to do that. We need to do that. So the government has a lot of activities to carry out to make agriculture as one of the mainstream revenue generation sector in Nigeria. And we have the land. We have arable land. We have fertile land in Nigeria. So one of the major problems the government needs to tackle is the issue of insecurity. Our farms have been taken over by bandits and kidnappers. We need to do something about that. And the best way to address that is to use technology. There is a need for Nigerians to acquire technology. We shouldn't be waiting for technological transfer from developed countries. We need to own our own technology. And that's the best way to do it. But if we are still waiting, what we have been waiting for since after independence, that there's going to be technology transfer. No country is ready to transfer technology into Nigeria. So we have to rediscover our renaissance and try to solve all our problems through technology. Another area is that government need to fund agriculture very well. There's a need for effective funding of agricultural production in Nigeria. When you talk of funding, we're not talking about funding those who farm with pen. That's what we see in Nigeria over the years. We are giving money to those who farm with pen, who have never gone to farm. They don't even know how to farm. The government will be talking about huge amount of money being spent on agriculture every year. Where is the money going to? Who is receiving the money? The only thing I can tell you is that the real farmer are not getting this fund, and it's affecting them. That's why you see our turnout every year. It's not impressive. So something needs to be done in that area. Government need to develop a very interesting strategy to ensure that the real farmer are being funded to ensure that we have increase in our agricultural production. Another area which is also a very important area we need to look at if we want to make agriculture to contribute immensely to in increasing the gross domestic product of Nigeria is for us to ensure that we improve on creating access to international markets. Nigeria is not contributing anything meaningful to international economy apart from oil. The other time Nigerians wanted to export yam to Europe. It didn't even go halfway on the sea before all the yams got spoiled. That tells you that our packaging is terrible. How are you going to contribute? We are talking about crop production. Can we export crop production from Nigeria to Europe now? Can we? We cannot. Because we cannot even farm. We cannot even produce enough for ourselves. And at the same time, we don't even add value to this agricultural produce by the time we say we want to export it. So these are the challenges. We are not contributing anything to the international market. So I'm also urging the federal government to find a way of adding values to our agricultural produce and export it before exporting it to international market. So, and so many other ways. We need to develop a very effective and efficacious agricultural policy that will attend to all these factors I've mentioned so that we can have agricultural production, we can have enough food for ourselves at home, and have enough to export to international market. These sectors, starting from crop production, fishing, livestock, and forestry. Let me start from crop production. We've already mentioned it, the kind of various challenges we are having with crop production. You see, most of our farmers are subsistence farmers. This is wrong in 21st century. Nigeria is still engaging in subsistence farming. It doesn't make sense. This crop production we are talking about is lacking the attention of the government. That's why you see that we could hardly feed ourselves in Nigeria today. There is food insecurity everywhere in Nigeria. And that's very, very bad. And it's very, very disappointing that Nigeria, as big as we are, Nigeria with this large, vast arable land, we cannot feed ourselves. It's laughable. Then talking about the fishing, most of the fishing we do have today, they are privately reared. And you know what they are feeding the fish with? This tilapia and the catfish, most especially catfish. If you know what they are feeding with the catfish, you will never eat catfish in Nigeria anymore. That's why you see our catfish, they are not delicious, you know. And our rivers they are drying. With this climate change, it's making most of our river to be drying off. You could recall the lake basin. That's one of the major causes of crisis in the northeast. You know, it's something that government need to look into. They're talking about livestock. I think livestock is receiving small attention now from the federal government to the extent that the Ministry of Livestock has been created. You can see in Nigeria, we have Ministry of Agriculture and we have Ministry of Livestock. When livestock was under Ministry of Agriculture, nothing serious happened. And livestock itself is one of the most interesting sector that can improve the gross domestic product of Nigeria. I was in South Africa recently, and I noticed that meat is very cheap in South Africa compared to Nigeria. Can you imagine? Meat is very, very cheap in South Africa. Beef is very, very cheap there compared to Nigeria. And look at the turnout of livestock business in Nigeria. But because it is not properly coordinated, that's why we are not getting the best out of the livestock. I think maybe with this creation of the Ministry of Livestock, things will be better in future. They're talking about the forestry. What is happening in the forestry? The deforestation is what we get in the forestry. Most of the animals are all in extinct in our forest today. You don't see what do you call it? You don't see animals, particularly wild animals. They have all run away. Most of them have all been killed by the hunters. So, because the government has no specific public policy to regulate the activities of the forestry, that is why we are not getting the best out of it. So you could see that we have a long way to go when it's come to the government commitment to agriculture. So in all these sectors, I can say it's only livestock that's getting little attention. And we have not started seeing the result. We have not started seeing the output of this attention given to the livestock production in Nigeria. Nigerian youths need to wake up. The fact that the former president referred to Nigerian youth as lazy and they don't know what to do to earn a living for themselves, I think we need to change that narrative by being serious even for once when it's come to agricultural production in Nigeria. I can tell you that most of the rich men, billionaires in dollars in America today, they are farmers. And it's simply because the American government paid a very interesting attention to agricultural sector in US. Today in Nigeria, look at the way we are operating our agricultural production. It is not attractive. It will interest you to know that Nigeria is still using the old forms, old strategies to farm, cutlass and hoes. Who will be interested in farming with cutlass and hoe? And you are saying the youth should come. If you go to our various universities today, how did they teach them to farm? They are still using the old method to farm. It is only University of Abuja here that they are making effort to deploy ultra-modern method to farm. And the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture is doing greatly in that aspect by partnering with many international organizations, partnering with many countries to ensure that we teach our young ones on how to farm, on how to make farming attractive. So for me, I will advise the youth that the only profession you can do, regardless of your area of specialization, regardless of the discipline you study in the university, is farming. Farming understand and it has its own universal language. Just use the correct method and you get the result. So I will advise the youth that they shouldn't be discouraged with the lack of commitment, lack of political will from the federal government. Let the youth start from somewhere. Even if it's just a small land, you can start with it. If it is only maize you can cultivate, you can start with maize. And if you cultivate maize in large proportion, you definitely get market for it. There is the only profession that will never be bankrupt is that of farming. Farming is the only profession because there is no way any individual will wake up in the morning and will not put something in his mouth. Even if you are fasting, you have to break, you have to take sahur. So man must eat. Work, as popular saying goes, that man must work, man must eat. That tells you that agriculture is the most lucrative profession in Nigeria today and in the whole world.
Come back, like we had former guest in person of Professor Mutilliah Olasupo. He took our time to analyze what the federal government needs to do to reform the agricultural sector and also to make it lucrative to entire youth out there. He also took our time to encourage the Nigerian youth that we should not give up, irrespective of the situation of the country today, even the political will of the nation today. That agriculture is lucrative. We all need to come into it, take advantage of it under this present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Till I come your way again, I remain your host, Joseph Uzuakon de Bolijo. Bye for now.